Hello, dear viewer. This video ended up having quite a big introduction, so if you only want to watch me talking about Code Vein, go directly to this part. Although, by watching the introduction, I think you'll get to see if you like how I go about the video and if my opinion is even valid to you. Well, with that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. September 27, 2019. By this time, the Soulsborne franchise has already made itself known and respected, being received throughout the four corners of the world with cheers from both players and critics. Not such a surprise that the games kept being well received too. After all, the core is always maintained by improving just enough to make it seem a well-worth experience that you just have to play it. You'd think then, surely, there are a lot of games out there with their own interpretations of the Soulsborne genre, trying new things, exploring different scenarios, and just trying to give their own spin on this. After all, the first big proponents of this genre was the almost a decade old by that point Dark Souls. Well, you would be right. There are indeed a good amount of games trying this, be it 2D or 3D, sometimes more like a carbon copy and sometimes actually trying different stuff, like Surge, which although I'm not a huge fan, I do respect it a lot. Well, you would think too that there were a good amount of, and now talking about the 3D ones in particular, good games there. And you would be wrong this time. Very, very wrong. You see, it's actually kind of amazing when you go look about this stuff, but in 2019 there were like Neo, Remnant, and The Surge. 8 years had passed and we had 3 somewhat good 3D games of the genre. There is yet another game though. This one released in the auspicious state at the somewhat beginning of the video, and the reason you're watching this video. Code Vein. This one though. This one I like playing and I like it quite a lot to be honest, and quite recently to boot. Code Vein is an action RPG published and developed by Bandai Namco, released on September 27, 2019, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. And to begin your journey through why you should play this game. The first thing you need to know is that one of the mainstays of the Soulsborne genre is indeed here, and by that I mean that the combat is pretty engaged. The combat, as expected, takes great inspiration on the Soulsborne series. They can feel setbacks on some places but go forward in others. The blood code mechanics is the star of the show here, being a delight for those who like to try multiple builds in a single playthrough. It is the crux of why the combat works so well. It works this way. You level up in the game, but only on a generic level. You don't select each attribute you want to level up. What determines what attribute you putting more points in is the blood code. Archetypes of gameplay styles that assign level from D to A+ to each attribute, for later combining with a level to determine the numerical value of each of your stats. So this D to A+ thing works basically like a multiplier, D being the lowest and A+ being the highest. They are gonna take a generic level that you're upgrading and determine an actual value to each of your stats. Forget all the respect in every single attribute to create a build and have to use some item to be even able to do this. You can just pause the game and select the blood code that you want to use, since these archetypes are the ones to actually dictate how much you have of each attributes. I like to adjust my class, my playstyle, during a gameplay in the search to come with the better way of going through a level. You can kinda do it in Dark Souls, for example, going for a dex build and using a scimitar and a bow. But even then, you're restricted to 2 generic situations in terms of range and the nuance derived from your timing. In Code Vein, you can probably alter how you think about the battle because you can in fact alter your attributes, perks, and spells in real time. You can change your main weapons from the mighty Zweihander to a light sword, or ditch physical attacks and focus solely on spells. Even if you decide to only buff yourself, you still have a lot of options. Buff to get more mobility, attack and dodge a lot, buff to get defense, extend your ground and trade blows with the monsters. Go the full glass cannon build and see if you can get the enemies in a permanent stagger state. Really, your interest in testing builds is the only thing limiting you. Even if you don't go as hard as changing your weapon class during a playthrough, you can still play with the blood codes to change significantly how you're playing the game. So it really does not punish you for trying different things. So combat's pretty good, pretty entertaining, but combat alone does not make a game, and there's 2 more aspects of the game that might quite also catch your attention and make you give it a chance. One of those being The map's design and environmental storytelling with a high dose of gothic vibes injected. Underground tunnels with more than strange rocky formations, remnants of a civilization slowly falling apart. One giant pit with water at the height of your knees and with flame towers to be lit. Small rock paths carved in stone at an obscene height that makes you want to avoid looking down. And, of course, the Cathedral of the Sacred Blood. The maps in Code Vein usually revolve around one theme, which would be destruction, pandemonium, post-apocalypse. I mean, the game is a post-apocalypse game after all, so it is to be expected. But they really go beyond because the whole supernatural theme surrounding the game. I mean, the whole premise of Code Vein is a civilization is collapsing. Hard. The world itself is not exactly falling apart. The humans are dangerously close to extinction, and the only thing that can kinda defend the humans against the beasts that roam the earth are revenants, who are vampire-like creatures who feed on palm, yeah you guess, human blood. So, the game really strives to give this shattered civilization feeling, elevating with old structures now highly disfigured by the monsters and whatever natural catastrophes that seem to have happened. And a lot of crystals that just seem to have sprouted out of nowhere. This gives a rusty vibe since there are rocks in the middle of buildings and such, but a bit technological, even though it's not the case at all, but this is due to the heavy bioluminescence present in it that do tend to invoke this feeling. If it was only a matter of style though, this might not have been enough to catch my attention. But my oh my was I not prepared for the infamously regarded Cathedral of the Sacred Blood. I tried to not go too in deep about maps, and I even deliberately only talk about areas at the first half of the game. But this video would not feel right if I did not talk about the Cathedral, especially considering that the environmental storytelling is as strongest here. Prior to me talking about this one though, I feel like I should stand my ground here first. I actually like Cathedral of the Sacred Blood, and when you play the game, you might come back here and call me crazy. Do I think it's a good map? Hell no, but Cathedral is, one in a not, the big Arnold London moment of this game. Beautiful map with heavy plot implications that's really obnoxious to travel through. Just like Arnold London, would you look at that? After you go through this map that looks man-made, right? A megalomaniac construction, sure, but it doesn't resemble any of the corruption of the previous map. You know, the crystal-looking things. But yeah, after you go through this, you discover that it was not really man-made, not 100% at least. You see, what you end up discovering is that the crystal-looking things you see on the other maps are just forms that the corruption that is afflicting the world can't take. And if you have a powerful enough entity that resonates with the corruption, the will of such entity can make it take different forms. Like, for example, a big maze with a religious temple vibe that leads to a big cathedral. A maze made to ward off possible intruders from a place sacred in its intention, of trying to maintain a slight sliver of hope for humanity and revenants alike. Would you maybe find at the deepest part of the cathedral such entity with this kind of ambition? I think that the general destruction and themes present at the first maps are good, but having more background of why things are how they are and being able to experience firsthand how different things can become brings a different flavor of environmental storytelling that's definitely pleasant to experience for yourself, giving a sense of awe and just excitement to the other things the game can be preparing for you. Even though the environments are not state-of-the-art in technicality, it's still pretty good in art direction, which I think is always the way to go most of the times. But my final reason on why you should play this game, I have what may have attracted you to this game in the first place, and that is the whole anime aesthetics that permeate the plot, character, and weapons. Took me long enough to talk about this one, didn't it? Code Vein is not shy on this anime vibe. Actually, I would say that's probably one of its main selling points. There's even a big 4+ minutes trailer that starts with a fighting scene and transitions itself to what's best described as a badass anime opening. It's pretty good, so I'll leave the link down below for you to check it out. Getting to the character creation screen, you are once again bombarded with the annual visual flair so dear to the game, as you are given the tools to make 99% of all isekai anime characters that fall in the edgy spectrum of design. Besides just the visual style, it also has the vibes. You can straight up identify the character traits of your main party just by visual alone. You have the Ikemen Magic Swordsman with the Noble Cause, the somewhat aloof friend that's more focused in heavy attacks and with defense as big as his heart. The badass merchant who talks hard but is kinder than anyone. The perky young mechanic genius who refine your weapons and armors. Talking about weapons, they are what you expect from this kind of setting with this kind of style. They are almost as big as your character and have a more over-the-top design. What with being small blades in other games for the lighter weapons are no exception, and the weapons which actually be big are even bigger. But this is not all that anime has influenced here. A heavier focus is in the characters and less about the world itself. Now, even if the focus are in stories mainly important to the world, like big moments who turn the course of things upside down, they're there to further make you care about characters and sympathize with them, not because of the circumstance brought, but instead the human cost of all that happened. Much less emphasis is given on what happened, how the logic of things operate, and much more how people are dealing with things. The setting is just a setting, and nothing more. And this is one of the things that I most love about the anime influence here. When the story does want to go more into the plot though, boy, they start the 4G chess. It's a pretty much par for the course revelation thread, but nevertheless a convoluted one. Enemies are not really enemies, megalomaniac plans by the main villain, main character has a special power that makes them able to use other powers, tragic story of when everything went to shit, everyone in your party is connected in some way to the main bosses. It's just a sprite threads of connection that just further deepens itself the more you dig on the vashes. Another mechanic of the game, but this one focuses on telling side stories of people in your party or other revenants, and something that you probably dig deeper if you want more spells or if you're like me and gets really empathetic really easily. Vashes are basically dreamlike segments that make you walk through sections of memories of other characters. It could be seen as a visual novel that you're able to walk through and divide into blood codes that each have multiple chapters. To get access to these chapters, you have to find items in the environments, and once you complete each chapter, you get rewards, like a skill being available to purchase now in the blood code. Patches are also a mechanic that is deeply tied to the narrative, like Dark Souls Curse, and if you want to be more specific, Dark Souls 2. The characters are slowly losing their memories every time they die and just naturally with the passing of time. They do not get into a stage of hollow because of death though. They instead go berserk if they do not drink blood on a regular basis, transforming into the monsters you are fighting the whole game. So, these tend to be pretty dramatic segments, but I think that they are well written enough to make you care for the story of each of these characters. And it's quite nice that you get to know more about your party members' past without being a wall of text. And here, the last section has ended and I have given you 3 arguments to play this game, and hopefully I made it be appealing enough for you to play it. But I do want to wrap it up a little more, so we do have a conclusion. Would you look at that? Code Vein is a game heavily focused on combat and build making, things that I value a lot in games. The setting presented by it in both the story and the world graphical representation are compelling enough to make me want to see more about its characters and stay until everything has unfolded. And of course, being the enjoyer that I am of anime and manga, the aesthetics were sure to hit home. I've tried being fairly rational in how I present my arguments to you, but to end this video, I want to just give my unrestrained thoughts about it. Code Vein was fun. I mean, really fun to play. I want you to keep playing, to keep seeing things, to fight the bosses. I want you to do dumb things like not sitting on missiles, the bonfires of this game, and see if I was gonna get punished by that. I want to tease it by going full range attack with a defense-oriented character like Yakumo as my companion. I want to keep upgrading my weapon and level to see which enemies I could kill with a charge and buffed. Heavy attack by the Sword-Hander. The game made me compelled to seek these side objectives that had nothing to do with achievements or some rewards in game. It was just so damn fun to play the game that this kind of things kept popping up on my mind, urging me to keep playing it. Those aspects that we went through the whole video are important for presenting in an orderly manner why I think you should play Code Vein. But let there be no doubt that my feelings while playing it, the urge that I felt to keep going at it, are what made me even want to make this video in the first place. Funnily enough though, the first thought that came to my head once the game ended sums up my whole experience in a single phrase, if I want to encapsulate it somehow. Code Vein was just dumb fun, and I would not have it any other way. Thanks for watching. This has been Shirokuro saying to you all, bye bye.